when should we start exiting in this
Sorry?
Japanese tokens that we bought? And then when do we start exiting from these Japanese tokens we bought?
Calm down, calm down.
I'm afraid because I can see about $300 extra. So before the thing go collapse on my head. Good evening. How is everything?
Just getting started.
Okay. Ekpele?
Yeah. Okay, let me start. I think it's good to start now. Yeah. So good evening, everyone. I'm sharing my screen. Hopefully it should show up in another 1 minute or so. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Crypto Pulse Weekly. I know it's been a bumpy week, but I can tell you that exciting times ahead with the cryptocurrency and Bitcoin story. So today, as usual, let's quickly run through our agenda and then we'll discuss the issue of play, which some players have cited as environmental concerns. So we'll talk about that, definitely we'll talk about that today, and just to try to clear some bit of FUD, to let you understand that this is sort of expected. Like I always say, when the small man misses the boat, or misses the bus, he has missed the bus. The best he can do is to try to run after it. If he's lucky, he can catch up. Otherwise, he has missed the boats. But if the big man misses the boat or misses the bus, then the boat's going to have to come back. And that's what we've seen repeatedly since the beginning of the year. So let's get into our agenda for today in terms of market updates and the vital signs and the crypto drip before we take question and answers. So in our market overview today, we saw Bitcoin drop to 46K plus in an overnight ambush, I would say, for the margin traders. So usually what happens is when whales and exchanges notice that there is a lot of people on leverage, and the information is widely available, by the way, it's usually easily available. You can see how much people are being leveraged on a particular position or for a particular crypto. So when exchanges and the big institutions see that, usually they go all out and just shut the markets. The reason they shut the market at those points is that it helps them to cash in on a lot of gains, because it means that many of those over-leveraged positions are going to be wiped out. So when somebody gets wiped out, somebody else is making the money. So it's just natural that you see those phenomena from time to time. And what we tell you that this is sort of an artificial orchestration is some of the fundamentals that I will share later about Bitcoin and about the overall crypto market cap as a whole. And one of the key metrics that we could keep in mind is the issue of Bitcoin dominance. So despite all of this, Bitcoin dominance has been going downwards, despite the quote and unquote similarly deep plunge. I mean, only $40 billion has been off the market, and most of the other ones that have gone off Bitcoin, and has actually resulted in gains on the altcoin side, as I will show you later. On the regulation side, two interesting things that came up this week, this week, was the Argentine government asking to demand that exchanges provide data on their users. Of course, you know where that is going. They're probably going to start looking into taxation for their customers. But what they won't realize is by the time they get to it, many of those kind of customers will be rich enough to exit those countries to other tax havens. And because you can't check somebody for $1 billion in Bitcoin at the airport. So it's going to be interesting how this plays out, because I'm interested in seeing how the government will try to fix this. So if you have a decentralized wallet that is sitting on your phone, or even, I mean, on your phone, or you've disabled it on your phone and you have your passphrase written out somewhere, and they're searching you for codes, they might not get anything from you. I mean, you can be carrying $100 billion in crypto. So it's be very interesting how they intend to fix that. I mean, China, not China. China is even struggling. Same thing with India. India is not been successful in the crypto ban. It's just increased demand so far. The other one was the Bank of England's deputy governor saying that it's imminent that they need to switch to central bank issued digital currency. And what he was saying was that he was citing what he called independent parties regarding, I mean, referring to the private companies that are issuing stable coins. And basically it was alluding to the fact that it shouldn't be them that should be issuing stable coin, that it should be the states. Of course, the states is going to issue its own stable coin. It's only a matter of time. I know that Bank of Japan, they'll probably be done with their own testing by the end of the year. Same thing with Korea. China is already leading the way in that regard. I know that countries like countries in Europe are already looking to this as well. So it's just a matter of time. I think before the next halving in 2024, we're likely to have seen one of these major Western powers make an attempt at the central bank digital currency. Of course, they will have their own blockchain and all that, which they can issue and monitor what's going on within their own monetary network. But it's still, it's still a matter of chance as to what's going to happen, what's going to be the adoption like. Are people going to go for Doge and Shiba instead of the digital pound sterling or the digital dollar? It's something we have to wait to see. In terms of sentiment, overall sentiment is somewhat bearish, short-term, very ultra short-term bearish. Mid-term is neutral, but long-term is still very bullish. Of course, altcoin season is in full swing. All the metrics that we discussed last week confirming altcoins are still in play right now. So none of them is missing, so they've basically remained the same. Now, moving on to the news item. If you recall, about 2 weeks ago, I mentioned that Goldman Sachs were opening their crypto trading desk, and it was live. An interesting thing that happened was that last week? Yeah, just on the cusp of last week, one of Goldman Sachs executive directors in the United Kingdom, the guy was like the MD for UK, resigned. And of course, it came as a shock to them, only for people to find out later that the guy had made a huge bet on Dogecoin and then cashed out like crazy. Excuse me. Reports have it that the guy made millions of dollars on his Dogecoin bet. So he cashed out his millions and resigned. I think that's a fantastic way to sack your boss. So it's all about the news in the UK, and people have been like, who's the guy? It's some McMahon guy. So he basically cashed out. I guess being an expert speculator himself, he probably bought the dip on Dogecoin, and when the hype was high, he cashed out mega profits. I'll come back to the Japanese coins as Japanese dog coins, as somebody put it just now. I'll come back to them shortly. But that's an interesting story. So it tells you about the potential power of this market to make a person literally. I mean, if you give an example of Shiba, I mean, I know people who invested £500 or $500 in Shiba at the peak during this past week. That Shiba was worth in excess of £50,000. I mean, how do you reconcile that? Yeah, it's all speculative and all that, but the gains are staggering and they're completely mind-boggling, to be honest, because you can't reconcile. I mean, this guy is an MD. He's already well paid. He's living well. I mean, he has the kind of job that most people would dream to have in their life. I mean, and the guy is cashed out. I suspect what happened was he probably, took a bet of like 1 million and then cashed out to be like 5 million or something. But the guy made millions from what I heard, and the guy just reasoned it, as they would say in Nigeria, that he has come to his bus stop, and he picked these buses as essentially. But very interesting story, and it's he has arrived. Yes, definitely he has arrived. I mean, if you're an MD and you cash out on such a trade, enough that you resign your job. I mean, definitely you have arrived at your bus, no doubt. In the same way, that Soros didn't kill the Bank of England. He nailed the coffin of the Bank of England in the 90s when he bet against the Bank of England, and in a single trade made $1 billion. I mean, after that, there's nothing else to do than to resign. So yeah, good luck to him, and thumbs up to him. In another news, we have this Ford from Tesla. I'm sure by now all of you have heard it. Of course, the most annoyed people are the people in the leverage and the futures markets who the earnings or some of their portfolio are wiped out by the sharp drop. And I think it's important to comment on this, because for many people who are new to the markets, if you look at this and you are lily-minded, quote unquote, and you feel that maybe Bitcoin is really problematic and everything. But what you need to understand is these guys are good at playing mind games. I mean, people who are head of institutions, they're not only vast in how to manage people, but how to manage expectations. And that's why, even though for many years Tesla was not a profitable company, everybody was still buying Tesla, because basically they knew how to play their cards. So what they've done now is they said, we will not be accepting Bitcoin for car purchases because we're concerned about the climate impact and the energy consumption. However, they are not selling any of their own Bitcoins. So just keep the dynamics in mind. The company makes a statement that, we're not going to be accepting Bitcoin for car payment any longer because we have concerns about the mining process and the energy sustainability. However, one, the company is not selling its own Bitcoin. Two, they never sold any car for Bitcoin in the last 1 or 4 months. None. Since they said they were going to accept Bitcoin, not one car was sold for Bitcoin. Three, they made over $100 million from their Bitcoins investment in January. So it's pure hypocrisy to come out and say that we're not going to be accepting Bitcoin for car payment when you never did get any car payment for. Yes, for the people who don't know, Ford means fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Thanks, Lukman. So really and truly, it was just an attempt to hoard the market, as people put it, because nothing has changed. They're holding their own Bitcoin to their chest. They're telling you that, we're not going to accept payment for Bitcoin. Now, that statement creates uncertainty in the hearts of new investors because they don't understand what that means. But the dynamics have not changed. So in the balance sheet of Tesla, they still have Bitcoin sitting in there. And I can bet you, I'm sure they bought again this week. I didn't carry the news, but while they were still saying this, I found out that MicroStrategy was buying the dip as usual. Of course, MicroStrategy is in a different plane. They're like poles apart when it comes to their views of Bitcoin and what Bitcoin is really to be used for. During the crypto clip today, the knowledge sharing session, I'll just show you 2 slides in terms of the energy consumption when it comes to Bitcoin and some other, infrastructure that's been put in place for management and storage of value. Because when people want to create uncertainty about something, they cast aspersions and they bring up accusations. Now, those accusations, by the way, don't have to be real. They don't have to be the truth. You can just create anything and bring it up. and say it in the public space. If you keep saying it in public space, after a while, people will think that, okay, maybe what you're saying is true. And we have a very recent example in, the Donald Trump presidency, and how they made lies the order of the day, and people actually believed in those lies. So in the same way, when people, open their mouth and say, Bitcoin's energy consumption is not friendly with the environment, it's a blanket statement that doesn't explain anything. But in the real sense of it, it's a blatant lie. But I'm gonna hold that thought. I'll come back to that later when we start talking about the energy impacts of Bitcoin and what's really going down when it comes to Bitcoin mining. But for Tesla, just know that it was a pure show of hypocrisy. Same thing with Square. Square that has been buying Bitcoin since since the beginning of maybe 2020 or late 2019. They're now saying that they're halting their Bitcoin purchase because they also have concerns about the carbon footprint, and that those concerns need to be addressed. This is the first time, so I understand they made a 20 million loss on their Bitcoin position, but this is the first time that Square is making any loss related to Bitcoin. Square's profit after tax, if a profit before tax or EBITDA, whichever metrics you want to use, last year was the highest they've had in history, and it was all because of Bitcoin. So you can't get rich or make profit off a particular asset class, then want to shit on the asset class. It doesn't work that way, because it's hypocrisy to most people. And for people that can see between the lines, they're just like, oh, these guys are just trying to drag down the price so that they can buy more. So really and truly, I don't think anybody should be really worried about whatever has been said in terms of, the reason for the market crash this week, because it's all just manipulation. I can tell you that for free. And that's why I said in my Instagram tweet that, see, I think the bull run has actually just reset now, because when all this fault clears, then you will see the true value of Bitcoin come up. And you see what happens is, for most time, you have Bitcoin sitting in range until the demand is no longer unbearable. And all of a sudden, the price spikes, and everybody's wondering, why is the price going up so crazy? If you pass your mind back to late last year, when it was sitting around 10K, and it was almost like it was never going to break above 15K or 14K, and everybody like, oh, Bitcoin is already overpriced, and we'll never get back to all-time high. And all of a sudden, it went from 15K. If I went from 10K in September to 15K, 16K in October, November, all the way to 20K. Then from there, it just took off and went to 40K. Now, between that time and the time it was sitting at 20K, all that period, it didn't take off 3 months. So now we've been sitting around 40 and 50 for a long while now. We've gone to 60, we've been back. The market has tried to go back to 40, the low 40s. It's been back. And in the process of doing that, we've actually touched on a very significant milestone in the bull run. I'll come to that later. So now, it's almost like the market has no other place to go in the short term than to go up. It might still come down, but really actually, it has no other place to go than to go up. So for all these guys that are pitching in and trying to support Elon Musk in his bid, I think it's just a show of hypocrisy. And I wouldn't be surprised if Elon Musk comes up and say they have created their own mining rig for Bitcoin that's completely clean and energy efficient. I want to finish the news before really getting into commentary about this energy thing, because it's just all lies, to be honest. So let's go on. There's this company in the US called DigiVault, who just got an approval for crypto custody. Basically, they're setting themselves up as a crypto custody outfit, and they'll be operating with the same rules that banks operate with when it comes to custody of assets. The only difference is that they won't be providing services, but the only thing they'll be doing is providing custody. I think we'll see a lot of these banks, or not banks, a lot of these kind of companies spring up, and many banks also will invest in companies like this as a way to pivot out of the traditional banking system, because not everybody at the end will want to be in charge of their wallets. I mean, that's the utopian ideology of everybody being in charge of their money, but I don't think we're at that level yet. I don't think everybody wants to be in charge of their money. So you will have companies like this getting permission and filing with the SEC and FCA to get custodial access. I mean, we already saw what's this guy's company. I can't remember the name now. They work with Kraken that provide NYDG, the ones in New York that provide custody assets. So this is also going to it's also going to join the fray. In other news, a Spanish stock exchange is working on a blockchain solution to help them basically put their low cap stock market. Let me use that way. It's like what do you call penny stocks? They want to create a market for penny stock, and they want to use the blockchain to run that market. If they succeed, it's going to be the first step in capital markets, creating an hybrid platform for people to get into the capital markets. But in my mind, I'm thinking that we're going to see something that's more nimble than what they're trying to build. So what they're trying to build is like they're trying to build the cryptocurrency exchange, but in the name of, you know, a marketplace for SMEs, small and medium scale business. Well, to be honest, many of the cryptocurrency exchanges already provide that functionality half and half, like especially the ones that have launch pools or launch pads. They already provide that functionality because you can go there, put up your projects, pay the platform, and, you know, raise funds directly, sell your tokens and raise funds. I think they're going to get overtaken by Launchpad. That's where I'm going with this story. But we'll see how it pans out. We'll see how it pans out for this Spanish stock exchange that is trying to run the mini stock exchange on blockchain. We'll see how that pans out for them. In another news, a city in North Dakota, so the city of I think it's Williston. Yeah, the city of Williston. They're saying they're going to start accepting cryptocurrencies for utility payments. Now, to give you an idea of where North Dakota is one of the rural, really very rural states in the US. North Dakota, South Dakota, Utah, all those central states in the middle. They're really very rural because you don't have so much development, you don't have so much companies sitting in those places. But what I'm seeing, or the trend I'm seeing, is that it's looking like the governors and the mayors in those states are taking up the initiative to get into crypto, or to try to bring crypto into their states as a way of driving up revenue. So if you look back to, I think, how many months ago now? Almost like 5 or 6 months ago, when the state of Wyoming was issuing banking charters to so many cryptocurrency companies. I'm aware of how, I think Kraken, yeah, there was Kraken, there was another one. In fact, there are like 3 of them that have banking charters in the state of Wyoming. So these hinterland states seem to be far ahead, to be honest, in the US than the main states like New York and Houston and Texas and Florida. These guys are really, you know, pioneering a lot of companies and giving companies all sorts of accesses that otherwise you would not expect to see in the United States. So I think it's going to be an interesting trend when this pans out over the next 4 or 5 years, when you start seeing massive companies prop out of the so-called, you know, rural states of the United States. Okay, let's move on. A few commentary on the drop of the price of Bitcoin. So right now, we've had the lowest drop in the last 10 weeks. The last time the price was in this region was about 10 weeks ago. And it supports the thesis last week that we hit a local top at 65,000. And we can see that from the charts. I'll show the chart later. We're forming a double bottom on a daily chart. The double bottom is a reversal sign on a technical level. I mean, from a technical standpoint. And we also see that 49K seems to be holding well. Even though we dipped down to 46, we've gone back to 49 now. One other thing that is of note on the chart is that for the first time in this bull run, we have hit what you call the 21-week exponential moving average. So the 21 exponential moving average is a dynamic moving average. If you understand charts a bit, you know what I'm saying. It's oh, Sherry, really? Okay, I didn't even know Williston was an oil town, to be honest. I thought it was just one of those Utah and so I saw somebody on the chat saying that she's from Williston and they're an oil town. Yeah, well, I think it bodes well for them, for people like for cities like Williston and the capital of Wyoming, who are taking this initiative, because what it means is that the people who are innovative, and I mean, US is not lacking for innovative souls. The people, the entrepreneurs who are innovative and want to create value from cryptocurrency and blockchain will easily, get into those places, because those are like pockets of or oases of hope for them, as opposed to the New York. New York is almost like killing anything that is crypto. And I understand New York's point of view. It's being funded by Wall Street. So where Wall Street cannot chop, quote unquote, they don't want anybody to chop. So they've been aggressively, like New York is the most aggressive against any form of cryptocurrency company. Like almost, I can count at least 6 lawsuits on my hands. That's, the New York Attorney General is putting against different crypto companies for different reasons. So really, I think it's a good thing that those guys are taking up the initiative of allowing incubation for cryptocurrency companies. Because what's going to happen is, if US doesn't take leadership, of course, China is already taking leadership along with the rest of Asia. If US doesn't take leadership in this one, what will happen is Asia is already primed. I mean, Japan and South Korea, and China, they're already onto this like crazy. So it's just a matter of time if US doesn't react quickly. So I think it's a good thing. And for many of those states where hitherto they will have suffered what you call a decline in overall, income, like the Rust Belt state, those guys are producing iron and all that. This is an opportunity for them, just the same way it's like an opportunity for Nigeria. But of course, Nigeria is another. I don't want to talk about Nigeria. Nigeria is a totally different story. But let's get back to our Bitcoin story before I blow my top for Nigeria this evening. Anyways, so on-chain metrics. On-chain metrics still suggest that we're a very long way up in terms of the end of this cycle. And what I told somebody was asking me during the week, and I said, at the very minimum, we have at least 4 to 6 months left in this bull run. And the reason I say so is I'm going to show you something later when I'm showing the charts called the stock to flow model. Now, this model was built by a guy, one of the Bitcoin developers, or one of the people that are part of the original committee. I don't want a committee now, but usually on GitHub, you have a hub of developers that supports the network, either as users or as miners. So he's one of those guys that are early to the party, and he built that model basically on the supply of Bitcoin based on the halving protocol. And if you look at that model, you will find out that we've not really deviated from that model since the inception. And even right now, we're still in range. So sometimes the market goes above the model, but when you look at it again, it comes back and seems to sit within the range of that model. So looking at the model and looking at all other on-chain metrics, it still shows us that we're a long way ahead from where the market is going to peak out. And like I said, Bitcoin is an unusual asset is that in that you have the opportunity to see the data, unlike many other assets. So if you are trading Forex, for instance, for you to get the bank's order book, you either must be paying some banker some heavy money, or you are hacking their system for you to see what they want to buy. But here you can, if you're getting very good with APIs, you can get all the other books of everybody, both in the spot, futures, and the leverage markets. So, and you have access to on-chain data as well. So it's a bit different for Bitcoin, and because of that, it's easy for people to see when the market is really, truly over and when it's not. So right now, I think we've just touched in on a very good correction. Before I got derailed, I was talking about the 21-week exponential moving average. As I was saying, the 21-week exponential moving average is a dynamic support or resistance for the Bitcoin price. And it has been since inception. Anytime the price crosses below, you're likely going to sit in for a bear season. And anytime it's above, it means that the bull season is still confirmed. In the last bull run in 2017, the 21 exponential moving average was touched, I think, about 5 times during that cycle. In this cycle, we've only touched it once, and that was this week. So this week is the first time we've touched the 21-week exponential moving average, meaning that the next week is likely to either go sideways or the price is going to start to recover completely. So really, I think it's a good reset. For practical, I think it's a good reset. But what it means is that we're going to have some drastic price movements anytime soon. And I'm going to show you something else that tells me that this is a very good time to be in the market, regardless. I'm going to show you that very soon. One is the fact that Ethereum is not dumping as hard as Bitcoin is. As a matter of fact, Ethereum is significantly outperforming Bitcoin as we speak. And as not, in fact, last week it was looking as if it was going to correct, but eventually that candle closed up as green. I mean, he's had about 6 weeks of consecutive price gain against Bitcoin. And I was thinking that last week was going to be a correction. But what has happened is it just continued to go up. So really, I think Ethereum is set to continue to go up. Some people say it will hit 5K before June. I mean, that's not impossible now because we're sitting above 4K. 2 things that I think are driving the price currently. One is the meme coin mania that is ongoing. I mean, you're all aware of Dogecoin, Shiba Inu, Akita, Kishu. All of them are sitting on Ethereum blockchain. So naturally, because of that, and because coins like Akita and Shiba did not even get to list until recently, they were selling on different decentralized exchanges, running up the gas fees. So that and the proposed update to the network that will allow a reduction in gas fee is what I think is driving the price. So I think the price will go up to at least till June. And if the price is going up, it means that we still have altcoin season. I'm going to explain myself with the altcoin season very soon. In terms of spotlight, today I'm spotlighting Kishu Inu. Like all the, like Dr. Larry put it, like all the Japanese dog tokens, they are meme tokens, right? And they're benefiting from what you call herd instincts. So Dogecoin was the first. Then Shiba guys came and said, this is the next Dogecoin. And they started driving, the hype. Because they were driving the hype so hard on social media, it was generating a lot of curiosity and demand. And when the exchanges started seeing the volumes that these coins were making on the DeFi exchanges, which are the decentralized exchanges, then they started listing them. Of course, when they started listing them, by the time they started listing them, the exchanges themselves were loading up in large quantities. Now, the exchanges loading up in large quantities naturally will drive up the price. When that drives up the price, it's like a virtuous cycle because an increase in the price would generate enough noise, that would generate enough curiosity, that will generate enough demand for getting the coins. And then that pumps again into an increase in price. So it's like a virtuous cycle that feeds on itself until it gets popped. Now, like I always say, don't trade what you can't lose when it comes to these particular coins, because in the short term, the price could go from 1,000 to 0. And the reason is that it's purely driven by hype. And because it's driven by hype, people who are very heavily capitalized, we call them whales in cryptocurrency lingo, but not them. I mean, not just them. The whales, the exchanges, they see an opportunity for very huge speculative gains, and even the hedge funds. So take example of that guy that I was telling you about, the Goldman Sachs MD that took a bet on his own money and cashed out and went to retire. So you have a lot of them like that, are really very, loaded guys. See this token, they're like, okay, this is a lot of hype. This thing is likely to blow up. And then they put in money. By the time they put in their own money and they buy in big bulk, the price goes up again. And the exchanges, because they have also bought a large quantity of it, they start hyping it. So, I mean, I can't remember what I was browsing. I started seeing Shiba has done 600 and, no, was it Shiba or Dogecoin? I can't remember all of them. One of them that was being advertised has done 629% in the last 4 weeks. Buy now. I mean, that was an exchange that was advertising to me on the gains. I mean, you can't see those figures and not wonder, like, what's going on here? So really, good speculative assets. I'm not going to say, don't put your money in it, because you can actually, make some decent money. Like I said, somebody put in 500, it made 50K from Shiba. So really, you can never tell how this is going to pan out. But, let it not be funds that's going to give you high blood pressure or cause you sleepless nights. But I think Kishu is a bit different because of all the meme tokens. Kishu is the first one that has sort of given itself a use case. How do I mean? So the other ones just published the meme tokens and said, it's an experimental one. Like Shiba said, we're going to give half of our tokens to Vitalik, who is the founder of Ethereum. And then I understand Vitalik dumped it. I didn't carry that. Now Vitalik sold the Shiba gains for India relief efforts. So that dumped the price of Shiba. Of course, in the short term, it's dumped the price of Shiba, but it's going to help Shiba in the sense that people are like, oh yeah, they use the price of Shiba to help India. So more people will probably buy it in the longer term. But what I'm saying is, you shouldn't stay in this kind of coins without your eye on the markets. It's I don't know how to put it. It's like riding a bicycle. I mean, you can't be riding a bicycle with your hands free all the time, because if anything touches any of the wheels, you're gonna. If you're not holding the handlebars, or driving a motorbike without holding the wheels, without holding the handlebars, it's a risky endeavor. But it's also very, very rewarding, whichever way. So for these ones, and I think I mentioned this about 2 or 3 weeks ago, Issue, Akita, Shiba, yeah, play money. But if you're going to go in, then be sure of what you are doing. I think we're going to go in heavy. If you want to speculate, then don't speculate with money you can afford to lose. That's what I'm going to say. And I'm going to give you a personal example. I bought Shiba originally. Then when it gained, I bought Akita from its gains. Then it gained again, I brought Issue from the same gain. So right now, to be honest, the money is on the house because I've already gained enough to spread into other coins. So if you're going to speculate with this, be sure to just hold for the short term. Another tip I might give you is that many of these coins tend to pump from during the week to Saturday night. And you wonder why Saturday night. So there's an unwritten code in the crypto world that the whales always come to play from Thursday evening to Sunday night. It stands to reason if you understand the money flow in terms of who is bringing money to the table. The institutional guys, the hedge funds, the brokers, and all these guys, the exchanges, they open during the weekdays. So they are significantly open during the weekdays. So their funds are in the markets from Monday morning, usually to Friday. But by end of day on Thursday, most of them have already taken the trades for the week. And as a result of that, they are either sitting on the sidelines or just waiting to cash out. However, because those guys are already exiting the markets one way or the other towards the end of the week, the high net worth retail investors, which we call whales, have an opportunity to come and manipulate the market to their advantage. So you can start observing from now that from usually Thursday evening, Friday morning, or Friday evening, you start seeing that things like Shiba, Kishu, Dogecoin will start going up a lot because there is no market manipulation from the institutions. So you are only left with retail play. And for retail play, it's the biggest boys that have the biggest control. So just to help you have an idea of how to position, if you're trying to position in the short term, because I've got a lot of questions from people this week about, is it safe to do it? Can I do it? What should I do? I'm like, yeah, don't spend money you can't afford to lose. And, don't chase the price. If you chase the price, you're going to get bumped. So if you buy Shiba when the price is pumping, then you're at a loss. You don't buy when the price is pumping, buy when the price is dumping so that you get a discount. Otherwise, you might have to hold it back for a long time. That's all I will say for now on Japanese meme tokens, quote and unquote. In terms of what's happening within the market itself, like I said, we witnessed about 40 billion loss in overall market cap. Last week was sitting about 2.4 trillion. It's 2.36 now. 40% of which is now sitting in Bitcoin. So compared to last week, that it was almost 50-50. We've had dominance has dropped to 40%. And if you remember what I said, that if dominance keeps dropping, it means altcoin is still in play. And I'm watching the dominance chart. I'll show you the dominance chart very soon, the Bitcoin dominance chart. When that chart starts to bounce or starts to retrace, it tells me that altcoin season has come to an end. Of course, I have people that have, I have people that called the end of altcoin season already this week. But I think personally, and based on my assessment and everything I'm seeing, I think we have anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks left before the end of this altcoin season. And what do I mean? There's still a technical level that's around 37 or 35% that Bitcoin needs to get to. If Bitcoin gets to that level and doesn't bounce off immediately, then the altcoin season might be longer than I've said. But if it bounces off, then it means that, yeah. So I think at least 2 weeks at the minimum. And I'll show you very shortly. So here we've lost 40 billion overall market cap. However, we've gained 87 billion in altcoins. There is no other confirmation you need than that we're in altcoin season. Secondly, if you look at the fear and greed index, we're right now sitting at 26. The only time I've seen this come this low was in September last year. That's the only time I remember that we had this. So anytime you have the sentiment of fear on this gauge, this low, it tells me that Bitcoin is about to make a major move. It might not be in the next 3 weeks, might not be in the next 4 weeks, but mark my words, from today's price, which is currently around 50K, you might see 100% gain in the price of Bitcoin in the months to come. Well, it's almost inevitable. If you see Bitcoin at this level, it's almost inevitable that the price is going to jump, because not only are the institutions that have dragged down the price going to buy, many big whales and retail investors are going to buy as well, because it's confirming that the price is going to be sitting on a very good support level. In terms of our psychology and where we are in the market cycle, I think we're here. We've not been able to get out of belief fully into thrill. And the reason we've not gotten out of thrill is because, one, there is still that last leg of the altcoin season that we've not seen. In that last leg, you can expect that altcoins will do anything between 2 to 5x from current price. So until we see that, we can't say we're in thrill, because after we see that, we will suddenly see a switch into Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin starts to skyrocket all of a sudden. So for now, I think we're still on the upward trajectory. We are not anywhere close to euphoria right now. No matter how nice the price looks, all the skirmishes that we're seeing in the meme tokens, those are just what they call them now, supporting movies, or what they call those movies that you watch before you watch the main movie. So they're like, the supporting movies to the real movies. It's not the real deal yet, to be honest. In terms of technical analysis, I said I was going to share the chart. Where's the chart? So let's start with Bitcoin. So for Bitcoin, this is the daily chart, and this is what I'm saying. So we've had price bottom out at these levels for 3 times or 4 times in recent times. One was last Yeah, one was February, the other was March, recently April. So now we've touched 46. Now this pattern looks like we're going to have a double bottom. A double bottom is like a W sign that shows that the price is about to take off from a purely technical standpoint. So what I'm saying is, if let me get the marker here. If the price goes this way and goes this way and goes this way and continue like this, then we're going to have a verified double bottom. So you can already see that this is like a doji. It's like, I mean, this candlestick formation is like a doji, which also signals a reversal. If this continues and the price goes up, which is like over the next 2 days, we're likely to climb higher back to at least 54K, then we might be confirming that double bottom, which tells me that we might have seen the last, for now, of the price hitting this region. That's one. Two, this this band, this blue, I don't know whether it's blue or green now. This band is a Bollinger Band. I've explained before. It's a standard deviation measurement of the price action, and usually the price respects Bollinger Bands. I mean, it's like magic, but naturally the price just tends to bounce off the band, especially on the higher time frame. It does so very frequently on the lower time frame, but on the higher time frame, it's a lot prominent because it doesn't happen frequently. So for instance, when it got, let's take the last two examples. When it got to the edge here, it bounced up and went to the upper edge. When it got to the edge here, it bounced up and came down. Here, it bounced up and came down. It didn't quite get up. Now it's sitting at the edge again. It bounced off again. So naturally, if you see the price at this point, and you're looking at the chart, it's a good buying opportunity. That's personally, that's one of my strategies. If I want to get into the market for a particular coin, especially if it's for maybe futures or margin, definitely I'm watching the Bollinger chart because it tells me whether the market is good to buy or good to sell. If it's sitting below the median, which is this, and it's at the edge, it's definitely good to buy. And I mean, you have so many things that confirm that. You have this double bottom that is about to form. You have the fear and greed index showing you the fundamental bias. And then, I mean, you have the RSI. RSI is the relative strength, which is sitting in oversold. Well, it's not oversold, but it's sitting below the mid-level as well. So really, I think we don't expect to see the price go significantly lower than what we're already seeing in recent days for Bitcoin. And usually, when you have a sharp drop like that, you're bound to have a correction. So we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, basically the whole of the week. Let me switch to the weekly charts. So you had the drop the whole of the week. Again, on the higher time frame, it's even very funny because on the higher time frame, you now have this weekly candle testing the mid-range band on the higher time frame, meaning that this band, if you go back, would not touch this band in a very long time. So I'm going to show you that now. The last time we touched the weekly band was in September last year, around the time we had the dump at the end of August. Before that, we were literally bearish in March. As I was saying, when we cross above the band on the weekly time frame, it usually signifies that you're in full swing bull mode. When you cross below, then it signifies that you definitely have a bearish correction, a major bearish correction, like we had between February and March last year. So really, we've not really touched this band since September last year. So now I think we're set to go higher. If we touch it again, I mean, there's nothing saying we can't touch it again at the beginning of the next week. Or practically, I think we'll touch it again and probably just head up. Because, and I'll tell you my reason for this. If you see this kind of pattern on a larger time frame, it usually means that, especially because this is a reversal pattern, it's like you have a bearish trend, you now have a bullish engulfing on a bearish trend. What it means, if you are interpreting the chart purely, is that the market is about to take off. But because this market has a lot of powers that be that can direct its affairs, it decided to sell off just at the point where you could have confirmed that the market was about to take off, which is this week. If the market did not crash this week, we'll have had a serious blast off in the price because everybody will see from the charts that the price is about to rise. But because of this is almost like a fake out. You shake out all the people that have taken entries to buy. I'm talking too technical. I think I'm going to stop now. But all in all, what I'm saying is the price is not likely to go below 48,000 anytime soon. It might come close, it might, try to break through to 45, but there are very, very heavy orders, very, very heavy orders sitting at 45, 42, 40, 41, and 40. So I don't think that we're going to successfully be able to climb that low in the price of Bitcoin. So that's about that for the price of Bitcoin. In terms of, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of market dominance, this is market dominance chart. Now, what I was saying was that if you remember last week, I said that if we were able to break below 44% market dominance, and we didn't close above 44% market dominance, the altcoin season was going to continue. What we are having now is we've even gone further. We've gone as low as 40 today. It's currently sitting at 41. We're likely to close the week around 40 or 39. If that happens, what will happen subsequently is that you're going to see the market plunge, Bitcoin dominance plunge to around 36, 37. 36, 37 is the lowest ever level that Bitcoin dominance has been before. And the last time this happened was in January 2018, towards the end of the last bull run. If it plunges that low, what I suspect will happen is we'll have a very massive reversal in terms of dominance. Everybody will pull off their funds from altcoins and pump it back to Bitcoin. As I said, this is a major time frame indicator, and we need at least 1 week to confirm that. I think in the next 1 week, the price will just go all the way and smash it, so that the altcoin season can come to an end. What happens after next week will determine how long the altcoin season will be, or how much time we have left in the altcoin season. I think that's where I'm going to leave it. What I wanted to show, the last thing I wanted to show on the chart was this stock to flow model I was talking about. So this stock to flow model basically is showing you how much the price is moving relative to the supply, which is the mining of Bitcoin, and the demand, which is how Bitcoin is being bought from on-chain data. Now, if you look at these charts from 2010, when it started plotting it, you find out that largely the price has been moving in line with this model, especially since 2017. Since 2017, you can see that we've just been kissing and meandering around the stock to flow model's projection. Now, based on the stock to flow model's projection, we're still going to, I'm looking for where's 2022. By the end of 2021, we'll be sitting at over 100,000. That's the what's it called? The projected price by the end of the year. However, you can see from previous models or reality now, from the actuals in the past, like from 2017, that there are times that the market goes beyond the model, then comes back. So I expect that we can see something like a spike up in this region, then come back to subsume at 100K. I don't know why, but I think this model is accurate enough in terms of the data is fetching from the blockchain, and for some reason, the market has never really deviated significantly from a stock to flow model. So when people say, oh, are we at the end of the bull market? We are not anywhere close, because if this model is anything to suggest, we're actually still following, almost like we are now following it line for line, according to the stock to flow model. So that's what I would say concerning the the price projection. So somebody asked a question about US investigating Binance. As usual, what's it called? What do you call them now? The New York, not the New York, but not countries, the states and the bodies that try to investigate these cryptocurrency companies. It's usually because it's not that they want to convict. They're not going to convict anybody. Nobody's going to jail because you can't hold anybody. Most of the time, what they're looking for is a monetary settlement. After they drag forth and back and say, this is the evidence we have against you, those ones to get their lawyers and say, this is not the evidence you have is not real. If they drag and the company gets tired, the company then says, oh, you know what, we'll offer you a settlement deal. You can take our deal or we'll continue to drag. Of course, they're going to take the deal and collect the money. I don't know if you heard what happened to Tether in the case against them. Hold on a second. They said Tether was guilty. Tether said they weren't guilty. Then Tether offered settlement. And they paid them, I can't remember the money, some very ridiculous money. Of course, it was in millions of dollars, quite all right. But for the noise that they were making about it, they collected the money and they said, yes, we are still saying that was wrong. But you collected the money anyway. So this one is just one of those spots. It doesn't even, like Cisse said, it's a distraction because of all the cryptocurrency companies, exchanges, I think Binance is the most well set up in terms of how they've managed to distance themselves from local authorities. And I'll explain what I mean. Unlike many other of the cryptocurrency exchanges that operate a centralized model where the company is registered somewhere and they have branches, the headquarters of Binance, which is Binance Global, is not registered anywhere. But I think they claimed Cyprus or some offshore country that, you can't do anything to them there. However, they have legal entities in all the main customer countries. So you have Binance US, you have Binance UK, the offering, you have Binance Turkey, you have Binance India. So they have Binance for everybody. So if you want to drag them, you say talk to Binance UK. Talk to Binance US. If you talk to Binance US, you say they have not done anything wrong. These are our tokens. All the tokens are verified. We're trading the same tokens like Kraken and Gemini. So you can't hold them really. So I didn't even bother to look at the news because it just bothered that at the end of the day, even if they did find a case against them, they're just going to collect money and move on. But of course, they usually have the opportunity of impacting the markets for the time that those news. You saw how the Tether news was so strong in, I think it was September, October last year. It was like if the whole cryptocurrency world was going to crash. But at the end of the day, how many millions and everything was gone. So it's just one of those. Even the one, I would have carried XRP, just that I'm not an XRP fan, really. The case against XRP is disputing the case right now and saying that the government of the SEC does not have a case against them. So really, at the end of the day, it continues to drag. How do I put it? There's no right or wrong. It's what you can prove, really. When it comes to corporate lawsuits like this, it's what you can prove. And if they can prove that we have not really done anything wrong, then nothing. If the SEC is saying they're investigating them, they can continue to investigate them for as long as they want. Then if they have a charge, let them bring their charge. It's all about money. And as a matter of fact, I don't think there's any exchange that is as rich as Binance right now in terms of pure capitalization. They are probably like double the market cap of Coinbase in real terms. So I don't see that as it's a non-news really. But like always, the media guys are always going to look for something to prop the market with. So I'm not bothered. Especially now that they seem to be even gaining more traction with the advent of these meme tokens and many other institutional players coming in the fray. So what you don't see on the surface is that while we, the retailers, are going to the exchange to buy, the institutions are going to the exchange and making OTC deals. OTC deals are like over-the-counter deals. So basically, instead of going to the exchange to say, I want to buy 500 million worth of Bitcoin. They'll come to Binance and say, Binance want to buy 500 million worth of Bitcoin. Binance will go to their ways and say, we have another for 500 million. Who wants to sell? And the guy might say, okay, I want to sell mine for $50. I mean, 50,000. I want to sell for 51,000. That transaction happens off the main market. So it doesn't move the price. And then the institution moves their money from Binance, they move it to a decentralized wallet. So if you are following people like Whale Alert, you just see 500 million Bitcoin move from Binance to unknown wallets. Case closed. So really, I don't see that going anywhere anytime soon. Yeah, I think our time is going. I need to talk about this environmental impact. So usually people will tell you that Bitcoin is damaging the environment and it's not good for environment, that the amount of energy you need to support the Bitcoin network on an annual basis is as much as what you will use for countries like Netherlands, Ukraine, and even Turkey. So this chart shows, power consumptions per annum for countries. And, when you see this kind of thing, at the face value, it looks like, wow, this is a lot of power that is being consumed by the Bitcoin network. However, what people are failing to realize is that for the value that the network is bringing to human civilization, this is nothing. And I'm going to explain why. So Bitcoin mining rigs are built such that you need to have number one, serious computing power, which means you'll be consuming a lot of electricity. Now, because you can't plug in those kind of rigs to normal power grids, like national power grids or regional power grids, your bills will be astronomical. You can't sustain it. It's not possible. In fact, in today's world, it's totally unprofitable. If you were to plug into any power grid and say you're mining Bitcoin, you're going to run at a loss. So what they do really is that they go to the rural areas where they have hydroelectricity, electricity or wind or solar. In fact, for China, which for a long time now have been the majority miners, what they've done is they've gone to the regions where they had hydroelectricity and they've tapped into the hydroelectricity. And the reason is that hydroelectricity is considered as a renewable source of energy. It is a renewable source of energy. And depending on how you tune your power station, you can generate as much power as you want. All you have to do is add more to your turbines and increase the channels, and you can generate as much power as you want. So for most of them, the only reason they are in business is because their mining rigs are close to those hydroelectricity power sources. So for you to come and say that Bitcoin mining is using coal and using, it's complete fault, because, and the case made by Elon Musk was totally counterintuitive, because on the one hand, you are saying that Bitcoin is damaging the environment by the mining activity because it's consuming a lot of power, and that power is coming from coal. Lie. Most of the power for Bitcoin in China, which are today at the largest miner, is coming from hydro. However, when you pan out the energy demands and the carbon footprint on the other banking infrastructures, and in fact, what I don't have on this chart is the one for electric cars, the mining of lithium, the mining of silica, and all the components that go into making of batteries, you find out that the carbon footprint far outweighs anything we can talk about for Bitcoin. So it's pure hypocrisy, as in pure hypocrisy. When you sit down and look at the numbers, it does not make sense. So the banking system here is generating it's consuming 650 terawatts per hour every year. Gold mining is doing 200. Gaming that is in everybody's house is doing 80. It's still more than Bitcoin mining. So really and truly, it's a way of distracting the market. Let me use that word. If you saw a clown, a magician in the marketplace, and is performing a trick, most of the trick is based on distraction. So the primary object that you're looking at is not where the trick is happening. By the time you understand what's going on, the trick has happened before you can find out that you are being tricked. So in the same way, people's attention are being drawn to issues that are not, whilst these guys are stacking their pockets and stashing their wallets with Bitcoins, and they're panning out the news and saying the environment is this, the environment is that. I have my views on climate change. I'm a scientist. I believe in science, but I think there's a lot of politicization going on, and pasteurization actually. But frankly and truly, it's not even you can't even bring Bitcoin into the fray, because when you consider all the other activities that are involved in desecrating the environment, who is going to talk about the printing of money and the process of printing and moving money around, how that impacts the environment? Nobody talks about that. So really, I think it's just a farce. And I think that people need to realize and understand that when people come up and say, Bitcoin is impacting the environment, it's just a lie. It's pure lie. There is nobody today that is setting up a mining rig that can profitably set it up without using renewable energy, because it will just be too expensive to depend on traditional sources. I rest my case. Please, if you have a question, let's take the question before we close for the week. So if you want to buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin. Don't worry about the naysayers talking about issues that are not, essentially. It's just the same way as saying, people should stop driving their cars and start driving bicycles. Meanwhile, the largest emissions are coming from airplanes, ocean liners, and vessels. And nobody has said, let's fine-tune a technology that helps vessels to run on hydrogen or something else. So for me, I understand the science, I support the science, but the proposed solutions do not portray what actually is going on, because 80% of the emission is happening from airplanes and ships, and in some cases trains. If you fix that, you create technology that cuts off emission from those sources, you have solved 80% of the problem. But no, everybody likes window dressing, and politicians are always after short-term solutions. So the short-term solution is to appear to be doing something, create carbon credits, all sorts of fancy names. I don't want to go into this discussion on energy and climate change. Please, if you have a question, please pop up your question before we round up for the weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you very much, Dr. Demi, for this wonderful presentation, as usual. I just want to ask, how do we technically move during the period when there will be shift from altcoin into Bitcoin? Now, how do we move in such a way that we'll be able to maximize the time? Because anytime I see any chart on the group, I always think that maybe, you guys start taking profit. So I don't know, how do we maximize the shift from altcoin to Bitcoin? How do we move technically that one will be able to maximize the profit there?
Are you joining the class tomorrow?
It's because I have a lot of things to do, but I will join. I just have to join.
Okay. So that will be part of the things I'll discuss in the class tomorrow, because it's also part of portfolio management, and you need to be able to. And that was why I was shouting on the WhatsApp group that people need to join the class tomorrow, because it's important to know when and how you bank the profits. So definitely, it's one of those items, those nuggets that will be discussed during the portfolio management course and workshop tomorrow. If you have a question on Instagram, just type it in, I'll read it out. So somebody asked where you can get Kisho in the US. There are a number of, I don't want to spill the beans, because I know there's a class on the 29th for people in the US, so now you can conveniently buy. So for the guys in the US, if you're taking the DeFi class, I would have said the very good channel will be to buy through DeFi. which is Uniswap. And then you'll be able to buy from your wallet straight up. However, there's some exchanges that I think have, in some states, you might be able to access them in the US. So exchanges like, you will have to try. Oh, sorry about that. Exchanges like Bilaxy, I think, Bitmart. I will come up with the list again. I'll send it on the WhatsApp group. But there are a number of exchanges that have listed Kishu today and yesterday. So before then, you could only buy on Uniswap, and of course, gas fee is high because Ethereum is very expensive. So those exchanges will provide you an alternative. I think that by next week, Binance is likely going to list them, because if I understand well, Kishu is on a week campaign to advertise on the, what's it called, Times Square billboard today till next week Friday. So that's going to create a lot of buzz. So that's going to generate a lot of demand. I expect that exchanges like Binance, Crypto.com will most probably list them by next week, if that happens. Other than that, the decentralized ways is your best bet, meaning you buy from your Coinbase wallet, Trust Wallet, Ethereum wallet, which one is there? MetaMask or SafePower wallet. Those are one of the other options that you have. If there is no other question, I'm happy to release you to enjoy the rest of your evening. Okay, cool. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely weekend. See you again next week. For the guys, tomorrow, see you in the class tomorrow. It promises to be an exciting time. Okay, somebody's asking if I will show how to buy Trust Wallet. Sorry, Don, you have a question? This is somebody has a question.
I think if one can use Trust Wallet to buy those Kishi.
Well, the problem with Trust Wallet is that Trust Wallet does not have that functionality for iPhones. So if you only have iPhone, you will not be able to use Trust Wallet to access DEXs. However, if you have what's this other one? Google Android, sorry. I've not had that for a while. If you have an Android phone, Trust Wallet on Android has that functionality. So I don't know why there's that disparity. So you can download Trust Wallet on your phone. You can download Coinbase wallets. You can download MetaMask wallets. You can download SafePower wallets. Then you can download, which one I want? My Ethereum wallet. Those 5 are decentralized wallet apps that you can download on your phone that can help you to trade directly from your wallet to a DeFi platform. Usually it should work regardless of whether you're not in the United States. I've already given you one of the expo for the class on 29th. Usually it should work from that point of view. Usually you should be able to buy. It will cost, of course, it will cost you some gas fees if you are dealing with the Ethereum network. For the person who asked about if I will show you, if you have time, I will show you how you can buy from a decentralized wallet, not necessarily Trust Wallet. As I said, I don't have Android phones, so I don't use Trust Wallet like that to buy or sell on DeFi. Mr. Albert, you have your hands up.
Yes, good evening, Doc.
Good evening.
This one, I just want to ask, well, these new projects that are coming, why is there any particular reason why they like listing on a DEX first before centralized exchanges? Is there any particular reason?
It's very simple. DEXs are decentralized by nature, meaning that the only people in true control of the DEX are the people providing the liquidity. If I find enough community to provide liquidity and then to execute trades on the DEXs, I am able to generate enough traffic within the DeFi environment that will start to show on the radar. Now, if my traffic is showing well on the radar, because the exchanges themselves are also on the side involved with DeFi transactions, most exchanges will start to see the volume coming up. It's almost like a proof of concept in the real sense of it, because what happens then is, if I launch a coin today and say my coin is Demi Inu, and I have a community around it, and we are pumping the price and buying and selling within ourselves, so much so that we're having massive gains in a very short period of time, and then we start to make noise about it on social media. What will happen is people will start to comment on social media, tagging the exchanges, saying, when are you guys going to list this stuff? So we don't have to go and meet the exchange that want to list our coins. The work is being done for us by curious customers of those exchanges who want to get in on the action. So it's easier for them, because if you were to create a token now and say that I'm going to launch my token on a particular exchange, the kind of headwinds and the kind of things you need to go through before you can launch is heavy, to be honest. There's so much requirements, so many of the exchanges will ask you to provide before you can launch a token with them. But the token is already doing well in the decentralized finance space, then you don't need any, it needs no introduction, basically. In that sense, they will be the one chasing to launch, because their customers are already asking to get in. So that's the primary reason. And it makes sense, because it's not within the powers of the centralized exchanges. And they're just also trying to take part in the hype. So if you can generate enough buzz and get enough hype in the DeFi space before launching on the centralized exchanges, you're all well and good. So that's the primary reason.
Like what Binance has done to is it Shiba?
Yeah.
I see. I understand. Thank you.
Yeah, it's basically supply and demand, and the exchanges make money into it. So why wouldn't they list it if you're going to make them money?
I see. Thank you. But the gas fee is too much. I just wanted to buy the latest Kishu yesterday. The gas fee was over $200.
Yeah, but usually evens out. So if you bought in February when Shiba first came out, if you bought, well, not even when it first came out, if you bought towards the end of February, let's say if you bought like £500, which was like $700, and your gas fee was, the gas fee for that transaction will be around the £120, which are like $160. But in total, that's less than, just short of $1,000 investment. At the peak I think during last week or during this week, at the peak, that's 1,000 investments will have been worth $70,000. So really,
wow,
it evens out. Yeah, it evens out for the hype. For the very hyped ones, the cost already evens out, and then you can bank in the profits. Stephen Toyin for Laramie, you had your hands up.
Well, we wait and see whether they'll stand at the end of this bull run.
Yeah, Stephen, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I actually didn't get the point where you made mention of that from Thursday evening to Saturday. That is it a good time to buy, or you are saying it's not a good time to buy? You are saying about the price of the coins will go down or go up. So I didn't really get that aspect.
No, what I was saying was that there's usually a pattern that happens on the markets.
Okay.
Between Thursday evening and Sunday, actually. And I was trying to explain why that pattern happens. So what you usually notice is that there's always seems to be a shift in dynamics by Thursday. So let me see if I can bring up a chart to explain what I'm saying. So if you take this week, for instance, Monday was Monday, hence. So Monday started on a low, essentially. We first went to 59, then we dropped all the way to 53, then closed at 55. Tuesday appeared to be a little bit better, but then Wednesday we dropped further, and then we closed at almost, we went as low as 48, but we closed at 49. Thursday, which was yesterday, the market turned around because we already dumped significantly. The market turned around. What I'm saying is that there's usually a shift in dynamics of the market price beginning on Thursdays. The reason is that one, by Monday midday, the institutional traders have already decided how they're going to move for the week and for the day. And between that Monday afternoon and Thursday evening, they've already banked in their profits. So let's give an example. As an institutional trader, when the market opened on Monday and you saw that the market was already here, let's say already here, 56, you will have said, okay, what's the best way to do? Let's enter the market and then wait for it to retrace and enter again. So they enter the market, they'll probably take some profit at 53. Then the market goes up again. But because in their mind, they've already determined that this week has started bearish, they probably take a sell position against the market, short the market, and of course, you have this huge crash. By the time they're here, they will have closed their trade and they're out of the market for the week. That's how institutional traders operate. Because as far as they're concerned, they made their profits for the week. So usually they'll trade leverage 1 to 10 from top to bottom. That's almost 20%. They are done for the week. So by Thursday, because there is no new market direction that Thursday is going to give them, you are not going to see any significant price movement. That's why you saw that even when they attempted to short it further, it bounced back from 46,000 and went back to the open of the previous day. At that point, you can tell that they've hands off the market. And from that point, which is usually late, like 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. on Thursday, you will notice that the market starts picking up. So if you have been a downward trend before Thursday, you're likely to see the market pick up from Thursday evening. If you have been an upward trend, there's going to be a crash on Wednesday or Thursday, usually. What I was saying was that the big retail investors bring money to the market from Thursday because they know that the institutional guys are going to be closing their position or will have closed their position by end of day on Thursday. It's just, operating at, how do I put it now? Reading the psychology of the institutional traders. Institutional traders are out to make money once they complete their target for the week. If they hit on Wednesday, they'll close out the position and that's it. So usually by Thursday or latest by Friday afternoon, they will have closed out their position, by which time the retail investors, the whales as we call them, the big retail investors have opportunity to play around with the markets. So what you tend to see, and because the retail investors are not usually short sellers, what I mean is that they don't have enough liquidity in the traditional fiat to short the markets. So they're not going to be shorting the market. So what you see is from here now, you see the market keeps going up till probably Sunday night or Sunday morning, by which time the whales have also hands off the market again till the institutional investors take over. Does it make sense?
Yes, sir.
So depending on where the market is, if the market was already overbought, let's say the price was pumping and going up and going up. Let's say the price has been pumping since today now. If it keeps going up, you can be sure that by Sunday night or by even Saturday night, the price is going to crash because the whales are coming to the market to push the market so that they can also profit. So when they push the market and the younger ones and the smaller ones join the fray. If they get too excited, they will pull the shop from underneath them. Go ahead, ask your question. Ask your second question. Your hands up. Okay, I thought your hand went to pick it. So that's the dynamics of the market, and how the big guys play it. Okay, I think we're done for the day. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a lovely weekend. For the guys on course tomorrow, see you. Looking forward to having a fantastic time tomorrow. Bye, and have a nice one.
Bye bye. Thank you.